It's Tuesday night and we up in here. What's going on, family? Come on in. Come on into this live stream. We up in here. We got some learning to do tonight. We got some homework on this school night. How you doing, Yolanda? How you doing? Y'all, welcome to On the Shoulders of Giants. If this is your first time, I am Joseph Ward, the host, founder, author, proprietor of On the Shoulders of Giants. Well, first, we tell the stories of the sung and unsung heroes of the African diaspora. But outside of that, we have conversations about how the system of white supremacy affects us in all 9 areas of human activity: education, economics, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war. And we look at it from as many different angles as possible. We don't know all the information. We're continuing to learn. We're still learning, but we're all using logic and using our brain and critical thinking. We're not going to let anybody tell us anything, and we're trying to analyze and learn as much as we can. So that brings us to tonight, looking at this Stanford prison experiment. Now, this is something that my good friend, Professor Carlton Jones, has told us about for years. He's mentioned it in conversations, mentioned it in podcasts for years about the Stanford prison experiment. And lately we were talking about it, and I got curious about the Stanford prison experiment and kind of went and did a little bit of digging and see what it was about. And I was like, oh, well, shoot, this might be a good show, because I'm always thinking about the larger picture of how these psychological experiments, how they actually play out in the larger society, especially when you implement what you learn from these experiments. And from what I did learn, that there's a lot of controversy surrounding this particular experiment. Nevertheless, the experiment happened and results came out of that experiment and information was learned. And so however that information is applied, that is on the person who's going to do that. But we do have to understand everything that's going on with these psychological experiments, because this is America, and we know America, they do nefarious stuff. And the information that they learn, if it affects white people in a specific way, we know how it would greatly affect black people. And so some of the things that I learned about this particular experiment intrigued me. So I was like, man, let's bring this to the family. Now, I don't know everything about this experiment, so I decided that we're going to learn together. So we're all going to look at this as a documentary. Well, this is a 29-minute BBC documentary on the Stanford prison experiment. So we're all going to learn more about the Stanford prison experiment together. So I thank everybody for being here. Welcome. Please hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. What's going on, Black Amore, listening from Detroit, Michigan? What up, Doe? What's going on? Door of L, you already know what it is. How you doing, my brother? Greetings. And everybody, hey, man, get in the comments. Let's talk. I want to know your thoughts. It's okay to disagree. Let's just disagree respectfully. We don't know it all. Like I say, we're learning more and more about the Stanford prison experiment together. And that's one of the best things I think about this channel is, I'm being honest, I don't know everything. So a lot of this stuff we're going to learn together. But we do have to put some logic, critical thinking, and reasoning to the things that we come across. So that's what we do over here. So once again, please hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and share this channel. Share this channel with at least 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people. Share this channel with as many people as possible. Make sure we can get this information out. YouTube is steadily shadow banning me. So I need y'all help with the shadow banning. And one thing that y'all can do to help that is every day at 1 p.m. I'm dropping the video. Just show up and watch it. I'm dropping the short at like 11 a.m., 1 p.m. every day. I'm dropping the video. And of course, these lives when they come out. And you are going to see me a little more this week because I got a lot more topics to cover and I got a lot more time to cover these topics. So you're going to see a lot more of me this week. So it's really going down. I got some good stuff that we got to get to. So, and next week, let me do say this. So next week we may not have a Tuesday night live next week because I have to travel to Miami. I'm gonna be down in Dade County next week, so we may not have a Tuesday night live depending on how the scheduling day goes. But my plan is to try to have, but I will let you know. Renee is in the building, y'all. My good sister Renee is in the building. What's going on, Renee? Good evening to you as well. G Money Hollywood, what's going on, my brother? Yes, sir. What up, doe? That's what I'm talking about, man. Yeah, I like that. I ain't gonna front. I like that. That's one of the greetings I do. Like, you know, I'm a southerner through and through. I'm not country. I'm a southerner through and through, but I like that. What up, though? I like that. And I respect folk from Detroit. I got respect for people from Detroit all over the globe. So let's do this, man. So like I said, we're talking about the Stanford prison experiment. So before I get deep into this thing, once again, please make sure. Oh, yes. Now, Renee, hey, anytime you hear Renee, anytime you hear, you on time, anytime. What's going on, Gregory? How you doing, my brother? What's going on? So let me drop my commercial real quick, and then we're going to go ahead and get deep up in the Stanford prison experiment, because remember, this is a school night, so we don't have all night, but we're doing our homework together. So let me run my commercial. So I told y'all I was going to get my merch shop up and running, so I've got it. So I want to show y'all my merch shop. So this is it. So I got some hats. So I got my own The Shoulders of Giants hats available for order. I have shirts. This supposed to be like a canvas, some kind of shirt, jersey shirt. I don't know why they got that design, but it's a jersey shirt. Somebody wanted. Got hoodies, regular shirts, heavy, what they call it, the heavy tee, tees for men's, unisex tees for women, everything. I got a mug. I gotta get this mug too. But this is the merch that I have available. See, I got my mug, I have my hats, and I have my apparel available. And all of that is, the links and stuff are below and connected to the video. So I got my merch shop up and running, been working on that for a minute in the background to get my merch shop up and running. So I got it up and running. So if you want to support the channel, get you some merch, it's all available, links below and links attached to the video. Yeah, so if you have not, get yourself some merch. You're gonna enjoy it. It's good quality stuff too, some real good quality stuff. So let's dive, man. We've been saying what up though since the 80s. We have our signature stamp. Oh, that's what's up, man. I respect it, man. I love that. Prentice State, thank you. And if I mess your name up, please excuse me. I be messing people's names up, but what's going on? How y'all doing? Say Clothing, you Hammer Apparel. So, August of 1971, something diabolical happened. It began, right? And it was in the basement of Stanford University. And it was something that shocked the world, right? 24 ordinary college students, they walked into an experiment, or they were arrested into an experiment, but they signed up for an experiment. So in the beginning of this experiment, none of these college students were criminals. None of them had a criminal background. None of them had a background of violence. None of them were seen as anything diabolical within their community, no monsters or nothing like that, right? But during this experiment, some of them became sadistic, some of them became broken, and people began humiliating others out of this group of 24. So half of them began to oppress the other half. One half were sectioned into being prison guards, one were the prisoners. So the guards began to oppress the prisoners. Prisoners began crying, screaming, and begging to leave, not because they were physically chained, because they were psychologically captured. Pay attention to that, psychologically captured. This experiment became so dangerous, so disturbing, so revealing that it had to be shut down early. But the real question is not what happened in the basement, right? The real question is, what did this experiment reveal about human nature? What did it reveal about power? What did it reveal about control? And most importantly, where do we see those same psychological forces operating in society today? So tonight, we're going to put on our thinking caps because it's a school name. We're doing our homework. We're going to talk about this Stanford prison experiment and help ourselves get a better understanding of it. Because once we get a better understanding of it, we may never look at society the same again. So we got to get ready. Stanford prison experiment. Let's learn. Get your paper, get your pens, get your pencils, get everything ready. Let's learn. Let's go.
I was the first one to be picked up, so they put me in a cell. They locked me in there in this degrading little outfit.
Hey, I don't want anybody left. Violate the rules, I'm a simulation! I gotta go to a doctor, anything. Jesus Christ, I'm burning up inside, don't you know?
I've never screamed so loud in my life. Never been so upset in my life. It was an experience of being out of control.
I just fucking can't take it.
Stanford University, Northern California, one of America's most prestigious academic institutions, and in 1971, the scene of one of the most notorious experiments in the history of psychology.
I was interested in what happens if you put good people in an evil place. Does the situation outside of you, the institution, come to control your behavior, or does the things inside of you, your attitude, your values, your morality, allow you to rise above a negative environment?
The negative environment Zimbardo chose to test his ideas was a prison.
Right.
He would convert the basement of the university's psychology department into a subterranean jail.
We put prison doors on each of 3 office cells. In the cells, there was nothing but 3 beds, and there was actually very little room for anything else because they were very small. And here we had solitary confinement, which we call the hole. And in the hole was the place where prisoners would be put for punishment. It was a very, very small area. When you closed the door, it was totally dark. All the guards wore military uniforms, and we had them wear these silver reflecting sunglasses. And what it does is you can't see someone's eyes, and so that loses some of the humanness, the humanity. In general, we wanted to create a sense of power. That is, the guards as a category are people who have power over others. In this case, power over the prisoners.
A decade earlier, psychologist
Well, let me read this. So, the Stanford prison experiment was a psychological study conducted in, once again, August 1971 at Stanford University by psychologist Philip Zimbardo. The purpose of the study was to learn how ordinary people behave when placed in positions of power versus people who were placed in powerless positions. Ultimately, learning how institutions, once again, how institutions influence human behavior, overall institutions. He wanted to answer, Zimbardo wanted to answer a key question is, do prisons create abusive behavior, or do abusive people become prison guards? But also looking at the larger society of how this prison industrial complex operates, whether it's for the people within the walls or even the larger society, how it is shaped by this police state that we do live in. So, yeah.
Stanley Milgram had also looked at how we respond to authority. In order to understand how people were induced to obey unjust regimes and participate in atrocities such as the Holocaust, he set up an experiment. Volunteers were told they were taking part in scientific research to improve memory.
Could you open those and tell me which of you is which, please? Teacher. Where?
Separated by a screen, the teacher would ask the learner questions in a word game and administer an electric shock when the answer was incorrect. He was told to increase the voltage with each wrong answer.
Cloud, horse, rock, house. Answer. Wrong. 150 volts. Answer, horse.
Oh. Experiment. That's all. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. Please.
Continue, please. Go right on.
Right.
Let me out.
Refuses to go on. The experiment requires you continue.
How you doing?
Teacher, please continue.
Participants didn't know that the learner was really an actor and the so-called shocks harmless.
You're gonna get a shock. 180 volts.
Ow. I can't stand the pain. Let me out of
Can't
here.
stand it. I'm not gonna kill that man there. I mean, who's gonna take the responsibility if anything happens to that gentleman? I'm responsible for anything that happens here. Continue, please. All right, next one. Slow. Walk, dance, truck, music.
Two-thirds of volunteers were prepared to administer a potentially fatal electric shock when encouraged to do so by what they perceived as a legitimate authority figure. In this case, a man in a white coat.
375 volts. I think something's happened to that fellow in there. I don't get no answer. He was hollering for less voltage. Can't you check in and see if he's all right, please?
Milgram's findings horrified America. They showed that decent American citizens were as capable of committing acts against their conscience as the Germans had been under the Nazis. Like Milgram, Zimbardo was interested in the power of social situations to overwhelm individuals. His experiment would test people's responses to an oppressive regime. Would they accept it or act against it? Zimbardo's experiment was conducted against a backdrop of civil rights activism and protest against the Vietnam War.
There was a sense of student power, student dominance, and student rebellion against authority in general.
It was from the student body that Zimbardo selected his participants. After passing tests to screen out anyone with a psychological abnormality, they were paid $15 a day. Each was randomly assigned to the role of guard or prisoner.
It was a prison to me. It still is a prison to me. I don't look on it as an experiment or a simulation.
And this is a experiment that was supposed to last for 2 weeks, but because of the diabolical nature that came out of this, it only lasted 6 days. So a 2-week experiment only lasted 6 days because it went so crazy. So
It was just a prison that was run by psychologists instead of run by the state.
I was 20, and that September I was going to college, and it would be nice to have a summer job, but there sure wasn't a lot of time left. And I looked in the want ads, and I found this thing which was just going to fit. It was just 2 weeks.
Once you put a uniform on and are given a job to keep these people in line, you really become that person. Once you put on that khaki uniform, you put on the glasses, you take the nightstick.
I was on summer break from my first year in college, and I was looking for a job. Had to choose between that and making pizzas.
And think about overall law enforcement when he's talking about the psychology or the mentality that came over him when he put the uniform on. Think about that. The overall systematic way that white supremacy operates.
That sounded like a lot more fun.
As well as running the experiment, Zimbardo took on the role of prison superintendent. He began by briefing the guards.
I said, you have to maintain law and order. If prisoners escape, the study is over, and you can't use physical violence.
You can't create a sense of fear in them. You can't create the notion that their life is totally controlled by us, and that there'll be constant surveillance. We have total power in the situation, and they have none.
Prisoners were brought to the basement prison, blindfolded, to confuse them about their whereabouts. They were stripped and deloused.
Of course, the guards started making fun of their genitals and humiliating them. And really, it's a start of what's known as the degradation process, which not only prisons, but lots of military-type outfits use that process.
Like the
When I first got here,
The savageness of the guards started the first day. They, man, they ain't not, man. I don't even want to repeat it, but the savageness and stuff started early.
I had to strip when they would call me names. I still didn't feel at all like I was in the prison. I was just looking at it as a job.
I recall sort of walking up and down the very short hallway, which was the prison hall, and looking in on the prisoners, and they're basically lounging around on their beds. I felt it was like the day in summer camp.
The first day I said, this might be a very long, very boring experiment because it's conceivable nothing will happen.
I arrived independently at the conclusion that this experiment must have been put together to prove a point about prisons being a cruel and inhumane place. And therefore, I would do my part, to help those results come about.
Deeper than that.
I was a confrontational and arrogant 18-year-old at the time. And, I said, somebody ought to stir things up a bit here.
On the second morning, the prisoners had decided to stir things up as well. The guards found some of them had used their beds to barricade their cell. Prisoner 8612 was one of the ringleaders of the rebellion.
Initially, I was stunned. I didn't expect a rebellion because not much happened. I mean, it wasn't clear what they were rebelling against, but they were rebelling against the status, rebelling against being anonymous, against having to follow orders from these other students.
Now remember, coming into this experiment, 24 people who were classified as psychologically healthy, middle class, no criminal record, split into two groups: prisoners and guards, people with power, people without power. The guards were not naturally abusive people, and they became abusive because of the role in the environment. But also think about it, we're looking at this is the beginning of day two. The beginning of day two, and the revolt has already broke out. People's psychological state has already started to change at the beginning of day two. They understand how to break people. They understand how to engineer people. They understand how to engineer society. They've been studying human beings for the longest, and just because they study themselves don't mean that they don't use the outcomes to manipulate us. So that's why we need to study and learn everything that they do, and have a working knowledge and a working level of understanding, and see how it applies to how they interact with us. They will have their own casualties to get the larger victory. But it's the beginning of day two. You have a revolt already from people who came in just 2 days ago, were psychologically healthy. Now look at this.
As punishment for the rebellion, prisoner 8612 was put in the hole, and the guards turned on the other prisoners.
The guards felt that they now have to up the ante of being tough. The prisoners made the mistake of beginning to use profanity against the guards in a very personalized way. So not against the guards, but, you little punk, you big shit, and so, and the guards got furious.
Right, Brian, right.
Well, gentlemen, here it is time for count.
Prisoners were repeatedly woken in the middle of the night. The guards made them do menial, physical tasks and clean out toilets with their bare hands.
We made it a point to not give them any sense of comfort or what to expect. That anything could happen to them at any time, including being rousted from their sleep at any hour and forced to stand up in a line and have me hurl insults at them and make them do exercises. When you interrupt people's sleep, they tend to become a little disoriented. And since there was no daylight in the prison, they had no idea whether it was night or day. I think that I was the instigator of this whole schedule of harassment.
Really?
The harassment of the guards took its...
I mean, they're telling on themselves. That's another reason why we watch stuff like this, to learn, because they be telling on themselves. I'm just thinking about law enforcement and how law enforcement has always interacted with Black people, Right, he did say it with a smile, but also think about how law enforcement, the psychology of law enforcement would change after experiments like this. When those who may not have the understanding of it now have a better working understanding of it. There you go, G Money. Yep. And white people have always used themselves as lab rats, and they have always been willing to be casualties for the larger victory.
Toll on rebellion leader 8612. He told Zimbardo he wanted to leave the experiment. Zimbardo responded not as a psychologist, but as a prison superintendent.
I said, well, I can see to it the guards don't hassle you personally. And in return, all I would like is some information from time to time about what the prisoners are doing. So essentially, I'm saying I'd like you to be a snitch, an informer. And I said, think it over, and if you still want to leave, fine.
Confused, prisoner 8612 returned to his cell and told the other prisoners that no one could leave.
He believed that we wouldn't let him go, although we've never said that. But the fact that he was the ringleader of the rebellion and he told the other prisoners they won't let you leave, and that really transformed the experiment into a prison.
I was told that I couldn't quit. And at that point, I just felt totally hopeless. More hopeless than I'd ever felt before.
Soon after returning to his cell, prisoner 8612 started showing signs of severe distress.
God damn it! Fucked up! You don't know! I mean, God! I mean, Jesus Christ, I'm burning up inside, don't you know? I just fucking can't take it.
He came up with a plan that if he acted crazy, we would have to release him.
I'm so fucked up inside. I feel really fucked up inside. You don't know. I gotta go. I can to a doctor, anything. I can't say that. I'm fucked up. I don't know how to explain it. I'm all fucked up inside. No!
It starts with make believe, and then he's doing it and cursing and screaming and whatever that little boundary is that he moved across. Not that he became really crazy, but he became excessively disturbed. I mean, it's so much so that we immediately said we have to release him.
As an experience, it was unique. I've never screamed so loud in my life. I've never been so upset in my life. And it was an experience of being out of control.
The boundary between reality and make-believe was to become blurred even for Zimbardo. A rumor circulated that released prisoner 8612 would return with friends to liberate the remaining prisoners.
I quickly convinced myself that, my most important function was, not to allow this prison liberation to occur. And what could I do to keep my prison going, not the experiment going?
The prison was dismantled and the prisoners moved to another part of the building. Zimbardo waited in the empty corridor, preparing to tell 8612 and his friends that the study was over, when a colleague appeared and began asking questions about the scientific basis of the research.
I'm trying to get rid of him. And then he says, what's the independent variable? I get furious because he doesn't understand that there's a riot about to take place, that this prison is about to erupt. I had totally lost this whole other identity of scientist, researcher, psychologist.
The rumored jailbreak never materialized. The guards had dismantled the prison for nothing and had to rebuild it. They took their frustration out on the prisoners.
They escalated again the level of control, the level of dominance, the level of humiliating behavior.
"819 was the next prisoner to rebel against the harassment of the guards. He barricaded himself in his cell and refused to take part in the count.
You're not only not getting a cigarette, but for as long as the cell is blockaded, you're going to be in solitary when you get out.
For 819's disobedience, the guards made his cellmates do mindless work. This undermined any vestige of solidarity amongst the prisoners, who now chose to accept the tyranny of the guards rather than risk further harassment.
That was one of the surprising things to me, is that there was so little that the prisoners did to support one another after we started our campaign. of, divide and conquer.
Isolated and distraught, prisoner 819 told Zimbardo he wanted to leave.
While I'm interviewing 819 and saying, okay, it's all over. Thank you for your participation. I'll give you money for the whole 2 weeks, even though you're leaving early. He hears the prisoners shouting, 819 did a bad thing.
Prisoner 819 did a bad thing. Prisoner 819 did a bad thing. Prisoner 819 did a bad thing.
And he said, I can't leave. And he's crying. And he says, I can't leave. So what do you mean you can't leave? He said, no, I have to go back because I don't want them to think that I'm a bad prisoner. And that's when I really flipped out. That in such a short time, a college student's thinking could become so distorted. I said, you're not a bad prisoner. You're not a prisoner. And this is not a prison. And it was this thing where he opened his eye and it was just really like a cloud being lifted.
Seeing things clearly, prisoner 819 reverted to his original request and was released. To replace him, the experimenters called in one of their reserves from the standby list.
I got a phone call saying, are you still available as an alternate? Kind of cheery female secretary voice. I said, yes, sure. And so she said, could you start this afternoon? And I said, yes, sure. And my role in the experiment really began. I was blindfolded and then stripped and supposedly deloused.
He came into a madhouse, full blown. All of us had gradually acclimated to the increasing level of aggression, the increasing powerlessness of the prisoners, the increasing dominance of the guards. And he comes in and says, what's happening here to the other prison? And they said, yeah, you better not make trouble. It's really terrible. It's a real prison. And he says, I'm out of here. I don't want, and they said, no, you can't leave. Once you're here, you're stuck. This is a real prison.
Well, 16, since you got your hands in the air, why don't you play Frankenstein? 293, you can be the bride of Frankenstein. You stand here.
Prisoner 416 was soon subjected to the harassment of Dave Eshelman, nicknamed John Wayne because
called Cool Hand Luke, and the mean, intimidating, Southern prison warden character in that film really was my inspiration for the role that I created for myself.
Why did you try to be obedient so much?
It's my nature to be obedient, Mr. Correctional.
You were lying. You were speaking lies.
He was creative in his evil. He would think up very ingenious ways to degrade, to demean the prisoners.
What if I told you to get down and
like his true nature came out?
And fuck the floor. What would you do then?
One of the best guards was also on that shift. And instead of confronting this bad guard, the sadistic guard, essentially because he didn't want to see what was happening, he became the gopher. He would go out to get the food and things of this kind. And that left John Wayne guard and another guard on that shift to be dominant.
Like people be involved in all types.
Continually called upon to act in a way that just is contrary to what I really feel inside. And just continually giving out shit. It's just really one of the most oppressive things you can do.
416, while they do push-ups, you sing Amazing Grace. Ready? Down. Keep going. Grace. Push-ups on your own.
The madness of the experiment started to affect prisoner 416.
A wretch like me. Keep going.
I began to feel that I was losing my identity until finally I wasn't Clay. I was 416. I was really my number. And 416 was going to have to decide what to do.
Prisoner 416 decided to go on a hunger strike.
They were pushing my limits, but here was a thing that I could do that could push their limits. After I had missed a couple of meals, I saw that this was not a matter of indifference to the guards. I was making headway. They were upset.
I thought, how dare this newcomer come in and try to change everything that we had worked for the first 3 days to set up. And
so I will say this is gonna be the first of many videos because I'm gonna end up I've gone down to mind control, MK Ultra, social engineering rabbit hole. So this is the first of many, because we're looking at the Stanford prison experiment today, but then, you know, I'm gonna have to come back with the Ratopia experiment, and then I got some other stuff that they've been using with LSD and all these, just like CIA experiments and all these different things that they've been doing to control behavior, engineer behavior, make sure people operate a specific way, make sure society operates a specific way. So yeah, this is wild though. This is wild. And a lot of, I think with a lot of these guards too, a lot of their innate natural personality and behavior is coming out too, because nobody's making them do this. All they did was put them in an environment and give them a uniform and a character, and all the evil in them came out. I think that evil was already in them. So
by God, he's going to suffer for that.
Please hit that like button, y'all. Please, let's get these likes up. Please hit that like button, please.
Get in that closet then.
Frustrated by his continued defiance, John Wayne threw prisoner 416 into the hole. After punishing the other prisoners for his disobedience, John Wayne encouraged them to vent their anger at 416 directly.
Thank you, 416.
Okay, 209.
Thank you, 416.
We would use our nightsticks to bang on the door, and we would kick the door so hard that, you know, it must have, you know, shaken him very seriously inside, scared the life out of him.
He yelled at me and threatened me, and actually sort of smashed a sausage into my face to try to get me to open up. But I didn't have any intention of eating until I was out.
Okay.
416 should have been at some level a hero, because he's willing to oppose the authority of the system. In fact, the prisoners accept the guards' definition of him as a troublemaker.
I remember some of them saying, you know, would you eat, goddammit? You know, we're sick and tired of this. And, you know, that was proof that, you know, there was no solidarity. There was no support between the prisoners.
While 416 was still in the hole, John Wayne made a final attempt to break him by giving his fellow prisoners a choice. They could vote to release him by making a small sacrifice.
You can give me the blankets and sleep on the bare mattress, or you can keep your blankets and 416 will stay in another day. Now, what will it be? What will it be over here? How about 546?
I'll give you my blanket, Mr. Correctional Officer. You don't want a blanket. We got 3 in favor of keeping the blanket.
We got 3, guess one. Keep your blankets, 416, you're going to be in there for a while. So just get used to it.
The study showed that power corrupts, and how difficult it is for people who are the victims of abuse to stand up and defend themselves. Why doesn't anybody who is being abused by a spouse or something like that just say, stop it? And we realize now that that's not as easy as it sounds.
By the end of the 5th day, 4 prisoners had broken down and been released. 416 was on the 2nd day of his hunger strike, and the experiment still had another 9 days to run. At this point, a fellow psychologist visited Zimbardo's basement prison and would witness the brutality of the experiment firsthand.
The guards had lined up the prisoners to go to the toilet, had bags over their head, chains on their feet, and were marching by. And I looked up and I saw this circus, this parade. And I said, hey, Chris, you know, look at that.
I looked up and I just began to feel sick to my stomach. I had this just chilling, sickening feeling of watching this. And I just, you know, I just turned away. And I just let loose in this emotional tirade. I just lost it. I was angry, scared. I was in tears.
And I'm furious. I'm saying, you're supposed to, you know, we had a big argument. You're supposed to be a psychologist. This is this interesting dynamic behavior in such a few days. But I'm going through this whole thing, the power of the situation. She says, no, it's that young boys are suffering and you are responsible. You're letting it happen.
Yep.
I said, oh my God, of course you're right.
The next day, Zimbardo ended the experiment. Studies like his stimulated heated debate about the ethics of using human subjects.
clearly young men suffered verbally, physically. Prisoners felt shame in their role. Guards felt guilt. So in that sense, it's unethical. That is, nobody has the right, the power, the privilege to do that to other people.
In the wake of experiments like Zimbardo's and Milgram's, ethical guidelines changed, introducing greater safeguards to protect participants. In the Stanford experiment, Zimbardo might have spared his volunteers distress had he not taken on a dual role in the study.
If I was going to be the prison superintendent, I should have had a colleague who was overseeing the experiment, who was in a position to stop it at any point, or I should have been the principal investigator and get somebody who was going to be the prison superintendent. I realized that was a big mistake, to play both those roles and be shifting back and forth.
After the experiment,
Dorville, I think they used, they don't feel sick for our people. They don't, they don't care. They're gonna keep experimenting on us. They're gonna keep doing all this stuff. They don't care. You right, Dorville. I don't even have, you right. Yeah, they don't feel sick for our people. They don't, but you know how they do for theirs though. But let me let this little bit play.
They brought all the participants together to talk about their experiences. John Wayne would now come face to face with the hunger striker he had tormented.
I was a little worried. I said, oh my God, he's really going to come down on me hard now. Now that we're on equal footing.
It harms me.
How did it harm you? How does it harm you? Just to think about it, you mean that people can be like that?
Yeah. It let me in on some knowledge that I've never experienced firsthand. Because I know what you can turn into. I know what you're willing to do.
When I look back on it now, I behaved appallingly. It's just horrid to look at.
Angry. Everyone was acting out a part and playing a role. Prisoners, guards, staff, everyone was acting out a part. It's when you start contributing to the script, that's you. And thus it's something you should take responsibility for.
I didn't see where it was really harmful. It was degrading, and that was part of my particular little experiment to see how I could.
Your particular little experiment.
Yes,
Why don't you tell me about that?
I was running little experiments of my own.
Tell me about your little experiment.
Okay.
I'm curious.
I wanted to see just what kind of verbal abuse
the real
that people can take before they start objecting, before they start flashing back.
If I have any regret right now, it's that I made that decision, because it would have been interesting to see what would have happened had I not decided to force
all things. The evil in you came out.
It could be that I only accelerated them, that the same things would have happened, but we'll never know.
If the extreme nature of Dave Eshelman's behavior tested the prisoners, it also presented the other guards with a choice to intervene or not.
It surprised me that no one said anything to stop me. They just accepted what I said, and no one questioned my authority at all. And it really shocked me. Why didn't people, when I started to get abuse people so much, I started to get so profane that, and still people didn't say anything.
There were a few guards who hated to see the prisoners suffer. They never did anything which would be demeaning of the prisoners. The interesting thing is none of the good guards ever intervened in the behavior of the guards who gradually became more and more sadistic over time.
So, because
we like to think there is this core of human nature that good people can't do bad things, and that good people will dominate over bad situations. In fact, one way to look at the Stanford prison study is that we put good people in an evil place, and we saw who won. Well, the sad message is, in this case, the evil place won over the good people.
Were there really good people, though? Were they really good people, though? Right? Or were they people who had all that evil within them, and them being placed in the proper environment and given the proper authority allow all of that to come out? So I think that's what we're dealing with this Stanford prison experiment, is people who hadn't had a record of being evil were given the chance to be as diabolical as they could And especially the main guard, the John Wayne dude, he jumped on it. He transformed to like the Joker. He transformed into a very evil person. Or let me use a different word. He didn't transform into an evil person. The evil within him came out. He was comfortable to display his true nature. And this experiment put these people in this environment that helped their true nature to come out, which also helped to further shape the individuals or reshape the mentality of the individuals that they had the power over, so those individuals can do what they want. So those individuals will fall in line. So those individuals would submit to their power. Right. So one of the lessons I think we can learn from this is the experiment revealed a great truth, a powerful truth, right? That situations and systems can override individual personality to a point. Because I think good people at the end of the day are going to be good people, and bad people at the end of the day are going to be bad people. Because integrity is what you do when even no one's watching. So if you have integrity, you're going to uphold that integrity, whether you're in an environment like this or not. And, you know, because they use the term good guards. But good guards will not allow other guards, who will be termed the bad guards, to do what they're doing to the prisoners. They would have stood up to them. So there were no real good guards in this, right? So, but those guys were able to take advantage of what is called situational power. People conform to roles expected by institutions. Once again, people conform to roles expected by institutions. Yep. Power changes or not changes behavior. Power displays your true nature. Let's say it like that. Power displays your true nature. It's like when people get in positions of like supervisory positions at your job and stuff, and how, let's say somebody who you might have been cool with on the job, y'all been cool for 3 years on the job. You thought y'all was cool. You didn't know they was an asshole. Or at least you didn't think they'll be an asshole to you. Then they get put in a position of power. And then within this position of power, they are expected to maintain a certain level of whatever, certain environment, a certain behavior, certain culture. And if they want to make sure they keep getting that check, they're going to conform. But if they conform, that means that they already had it in them from the beginning to conform. Weak-minded people who already had that bullshit up in them. Because good people gonna be good people regardless. Because it was an experiment, not in a real prison. So all the real guards, all the good guards could have been like, hey man, we ain't doing this, we going home. This experiment could have ended the first day. Everybody could have walked out and went home. But no, the John Wayne dude, it went to his head. That John Wayne dude got that evil all up in his heart, his spirit, his soul. And he's coming back talking like, hey, well, you know, I did this and I did that. Yeah, because you're an evil person. And everybody else up in there. And the way that those prisoners were broken mentally. Look, I'm not going to act like I'm a psychology expert, but I did study psychology. I got my bachelor's degree in psychology. I went to FAMU, and they did a good job of teaching us about the system of white supremacy, right? And understanding how to make a slave, understanding how a slave mind is shaped, understanding how people are broken. They put these people in an environment to break them. But also, in my opinion, it taught them that even in a larger society, you can segment off communities. And if you segment off these specific communities and you enforce You put specific people in these communities who are willing to conform to the institution. You can help reshape these people, but you also have the tyrants over the oppressed. White supremacy, man. White supremacy. So Zambrano, he did have a statement though. He said good people can do evil things when placed in evil systems. I don't think I fully agree with that. I think people who are perceived as good do evil things when placed in evil systems. I think evil people jump on the opportunity to do evil things when placed in evil systems. But the perception of good, because how are we defining good? How is Zambrano defining good? Because once again, I just don't, I truly believe the nature of a person, your true nature, you don't turn against your true nature. You are who you are. If you put me in that, I'm walking out. If you put me in that guard situation, I'm walking out. It's not real. We're not treating people like this. I'd have been there fighting prison guards. I would have bust up the whole experiment because I got actual integrity. Like you all, like us, we got integrity. For people who don't have integrity, well, you know, they gonna do what it do. They gonna go along to get along. Yep. Underdeveloped conscience and consciousness. There you go. That Urugu. So, but this, even the John Wayne character, right? There you go, Khadijah. Good people will not change who they are at the end of the day. The people who are pretending to be good will change. Right? But this environment, bro, was brought out because, or these behaviors were brought out because this environment induced like a power imbalance. It induced a lack of accountability. It induced dehumanization. It induced institutional authority. Things that are all still used against us. So the Stanford prison experiment helped psychologists, sociologists, and governments understand how prisons operate, how police behavior develops, and how authority systems function. It showed that abuse can become normalized inside institutions. Right? Your essence is consistent. There you go. The money class channel. There you go. So the Stanford prison experiment, like I've been saying for a while, they've been studying human beings, but especially studying us forever. We cannot be the short-sighted ones. We cannot be the emotional ones. We cannot be the ones who are going around thinking that we know more about white folk than they know more about us, when they've actually literally been experimenting on us and the environments around us forever. And when I say literally experimenting on us, I mean literally experimenting on us. We're not doing that to them. They understand everything about us. So how do you defeat an enemy who understands everything about you and shapes the environment around you? It's not something that's impossible. We just got to figure out what the answer is. But one part of that answer is us really having a better understanding of our enemy, but having a greater understanding of ourselves, so we can better operate when we come into the presence, or when our enemy come to our presence. Because right now, they've been able to shape us in a specific way to where we don't get along. And our disunity is keeping us at a place to where we are crippled as a group, and we're losing as a group. I'm gonna keep saying it again. It's like being in a football game, it's the fourth quarter, 3 minutes to go, the score is 77-0. How do you inspire your team to go and play hard for these last 3 minutes, even though you're down 77-0? Because we don't have a choice. We got to play hard. But we got to understand what's going on too. We got to understand the battlefield. Sun Tzu, understand your enemy, understand everything that's going on. Study, read, learn everything. So, like I said, this started me going down the rabbit hole, and I'm gonna take y'all down the rabbit hole with me. There you go, Khadijah. There you go. There you go. That was some of the earliest. Social conditioning. The mentality of the Willie Lynch, the ideology of Willie Lynch. That's some of the earliest social engineering over here in these Americas. Yeah, our strength derives from our ability to cooperate to achieve common goals, because they understand racism is a team sport. They created the game. So they understand it's a team sport. So they work overtime to make sure that we don't operate as a team. That's why I'm going to keep exposing everything that got going on so we can better work as a team, be better, learn better, grow better. It's a team sport. But we gotta understand our plays and the other team plays and what they got going on as well. We gotta understand our opposition. Yeah. So I encourage you all to do a lot more reading on not only the Stanford prison experiments, but other social experiments and psychological experiments that happened throughout history in America and even abroad, because I have some other stuff that I'm gonna show y'all. So we're gonna learn. We're gonna continue to learn. We're gonna continue to learn. So I got some real good stuff coming up for you all the rest of this week, I think. So today is Tuesday, so remember Wednesday. Tomorrow I have a clip. I'm dropping the clip on you all. Wednesday and Thursday, I'm gonna drop my I got an interview with a brother, one of my brothers, Mr. Andre Shaw II. Got an interview with him, and we're talking about black men's mental health within the system of white supremacy. That was a real good conversation, so I'm gonna drop that. Black men's mental health within the system of white supremacy. We're talking about that. I am going live on Friday, so look out for the post and look out for that. Friday, of course, I'm going live on Saturday at 3:30. So yeah, so being able to look out for everything I got coming up. Remember, every day at 1 p.m. I'm dropping a video, so you're gonna be able to see something, learn something. And my historical video that I would usually drop on Wednesday to give information about a historical figure, this week I'm dropping it on Thursday. So look out for that Thursday. So 2 things for you Thursday: my historical profile video and my interview with my brother Andre Shaw, where we're talking about black mental health within the system of white supremacy, right? We got to take our minds back. They're telling us how they took our minds, and we got to take our minds back. There you go. There you go. Green Simmons 5959. I hear you. So yeah, so we got some stuff coming up, man. We got some stuff coming up this week. I got some time, but also remember next week we may not have a Tuesday night live, because like I said, I got to travel today. Kind of got to travel to Miami for work, so we may or may not, because that day they're telling me I'm gonna be doing a whole lot of driving. So we may not do that. So please hit that like button if you have not already. Comment on this video if you haven't already. Subscribe to this channel if you have not already. Hit that notification bell. Share this video with a few people. Make sure they get this information. If you see the hype button, please hit the hype button. The hype button is so elusive, so please hit the hype button if you see it. If you rock with this channel, just please continue to support what we got going on. Continue to watch these videos. Continue to put people on to what we got going on over here. And let's continue to learn and just do it how we do it, man. So I love you all. Special shout out to Professor Carlton Jones, Patrick Irvin, my brothers. And we're going to continue doing what we do. Y'all have a great night. Like I said, this is a school night, and we've done our homework. So please get you some rest. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your mind. Take care of your body. Take care of your soul. Take care of your people. Let's start spread love, and let's continue to learn. There you go, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. You better read it. You better read her and listen to them lectures. Man, with that being said, my time is done tonight. I love y'all. I see y'all live Friday. Peace out.